Forrest, big fan of Close, love what you guys are doing. I'm a business coach. I don't have a problem getting inbound leads. My challenge is I know I can increase my conversions if I get my team to contact those leads as fast as possible. How do I do that in Close? Thanks, man.
First and foremost, you've done the hardest part, which is get new leads. Second, this is probably the best question you could be asking. The amount of time it takes you to reach out to a new lead directly correlates to conversion rate. We know that if you can reach out to leads within 90 seconds, that your conversion rates will go way up. And I think there's a variety of ways that you can reach out to leads, right? It can be phone, it can be email, it can be SMS. So we can try to pack all of those into one setup so that it's super clean, super simple, and makes it really easy for you to reach every new lead within 90 seconds, no matter what. So I'm going to put down the phone and we can kind of get to work to show you exactly how to do this. It really comes to 3 steps. So the first step is data. The second step is automation. And the third step is calling. So let's just dive into it. The first step is how do we get our data into the right place at the right time? So if somebody fills out a form, if you have a new warm lead asking for more information or saying they're interested, how do we get that information into Close as quickly as possible? Typically, we're going to use a tool called Zapier that connects 2 platforms. So we're basically going to say, if they fill out this form, we're going to use Zapier to zap that into Close. That'll happen within seconds. Will go by, we'll get it into Close, and then we can move from there. I'm going to make a little bit more content for you to walk through exactly how to build that Zap setup so that you can mimic it if you want, and it will bring in the data to the right place. Not only bring the data into the right place, but have the leads filled out with all of the information your setters might need to make the calls they need to make. Once we do that, we're going to have the ability to reach them in a couple of ways. Before you build the Zap, I think it's important to focus on how does the automation work in Close, and how do we get our teams the ability to call all of these warm leads. If we've got the Zap built, but we don't have that other part built, then it really doesn't help us anyway. So let's jump into Close, and I want to show you the 2 things that I think are really, really critical. So the first thing is you're going to build a workflow, and you come into workflows. You can build a workflow specific to the lead that you're getting, specific to the form that you're getting, specific to the lead source you're getting. So basically, I would say, okay, we've got a new web form lead, and I would build this out. And building out a workflow, I'm not going to go into detail, is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to click this. You can kind of build an email template that you want to be sent out, and when you want it to be sent out. But doing this and not having it wait any time. So basically, what we're going to allow this to do is say, once a form is filled out, they're automatically going to get an email and SMS from us within seconds. So that means no matter what happens, even if a setter or a rep doesn't do what they're supposed to, it doesn't matter because this person's getting some sort of communication from us right away. And I think that's critical. It's kind of like a fail-proof way to have this set up. I typically will create some automation within Close too. So the things that I look for is, what do I want to happen that would automatically kick this off? And the first thing that would automatically kick this off is if a new lead comes in with this status. So if a new lead comes in with this reaching out status. And then the second thing is I would also want to make sure they're coming from the right lead source. So I don't want any new lead getting kicked off into this. I pick a couple lead sources that I know that I want. And we'll fill out those lead sources when we build the Zap so that any new lead from the correct lead sources fills this out and automatically kicks this lead into the right workflow. And so that's how we do that. And you'll see once this is done that if a new lead gets created right now, they're automatically enrolled and they literally have an email in their inbox the second it happens. So this is step 1, build this workflow, make sure you like the workflow, make sure it's got the right cadence, and you're good to go. The next step really is to build a smart view. So to build a smart view, you're going to come to leads and then you can add filters here. There's 2 smart views that I think you should build are to help your team call in under 2 minutes. I think there's probably nothing better you can do to a warm lead than call them in under 2 minutes. Get them on the phone right away, vet them out, disqualify or qualify them, and move them forward in the process. So this right here, if you can call someone within the first 2 minutes, every time I've done this, they're shocked that I've called them so fast. It's top of mind. They're excited to talk about it because they just filled out the form. This is really what you can do. So the first thing you're going to do is build filters. Anytime you build a smart view, the way that I think about this is it is a to-do list where your reps don't have to check anything off. They just have to do the action they're supposed to do. To build it is to think about, why do I want a lead to enter this smart view? And why do I want a lead to exit this smart view? And so I look at this, so I want a lead to enter this smart view if they're in the status reaching out, if we have not called them yet, if there's 0 active opportunities, 0 upcoming meetings, and there's 0 incomplete tasks. So all of these things have not happened. They haven't been called, we don't have an app, we don't have a meeting booked, and they're still in our primary status, then we should be calling them immediately. This is priority number 1 for all our reps. They should be living in this smart view all day. If there's a lead here, they call it. And you can see, if you go to this lead, they have none of that information. To build this out, you're going to come in here, you're going to click add filter, you're going to find the filter you want. So in this example, meetings, number of meetings is none. So super simple, smart view to build. And then you have your reps living here. They can either power dial this list by clicking power dial, or they can go one by one and call. But the goal is that they call them as quickly as possible. The second smart view you're going to build is if these people don't answer, what's going to happen is they're going to come into this smart view, because if the second they're called, they're going to be pulled off of this smart view forever. Your reps don't have to do anything. Once they call, pulled off of this smart view because the total number of calls is none. And then you're going to have a secondary smart view, which the timing of this is super dependent on your team. But typically we want to say the current status is reaching out. We still don't have an active opportunity. We still don't have an upcoming meeting, and we haven't called them within the last 24 hours. I typically add another filter here, which is to say total number of calls is some. Not a necessary filter, but it can help. The second smart view is daily calling list. So these are the leads that you've already called once, but you still want to continue to follow up with them throughout the process. You don't want to just let a lead go because you called them once and they didn't respond. So we didn't change their status. So they're not a customer or anything like that. They don't have an active opportunity. They don't have an upcoming meeting, and we haven't called them within the last 24 hours. And the way to do that is go find the latest call is not within the last 24 hours. I typically add total number of calls is less than 20, super optional. But this is to say, once we've called them 20 times, maybe there's a point of no return and we let them go. But this is a list that once your team is done calling this list, priority number 1, they can come to the daily calling list and call through this list too. And these will be people that cycle through. If nothing happens with them, if they don't pick up the phone, if they don't get a status change, if they don't book a meeting, if they don't create an opportunity in 24 hours, they'll be put back into this list. And it can be just a daily calling list for your entire setter team. So I think those are the biggest things to set up in your account so that you're ready to go to get new leads in. Essentially what will happen is workflows get kicked off and these leads get put into the right smart views at the right time so you can call them immediately. The only other thing to think about is where do you want to store your information? It's important to create a couple custom fields, right? Create a couple custom fields for the things that you want. Lead source, I think, is incredibly important. And then the only other thing that you might want to add here in the custom fields, is there anything in the form in the way that these new warm leads are coming to you that you want to pull in as well? Is there any information that helps qualify or disqualify that you want to pull in? You can bring those in as custom fields as well. If you're interested in learning a little bit more how to build a Zap to get your new warm leads into close, I'm going to walk through it in a lot of detail here. So you'll come to Zapier and you'll create a new Zap. When you do that, it's going to ask you what you want to be the trigger. And that trigger is what kicks off a Zap. So what is the thing that's going to happen that's going to send a lead to close? I'm going to use Typeform as an example, but you might have either a different form platform or social media or whatever it is that you're bringing these new leads into close. And you're going to find that by clicking the app and searching through those apps and then signing in right here. When you click continue, it's going to ask you how you want to configure it. And basically you're going to pick what form you want to use. And then it's going to ask you to test. And when you test, you want to get a record with some test data in it. It's super, super important to do because that's how we help sort out all of this and make sure the fields are dynamic and work every time. And then when you click continue, it's going to ask you, what do you want to do next? And we're going to click close because we want to bring this lead into close. You're going to have to sign into your account. You can click select. If you haven't signed in yet, you can just go ahead and sign into close. Otherwise, you can select your account. And then we're going to do action and event. A lot of people here make a mistake of doing create lead. And when they create lead, what happens is it works first. And then over weeks, months, years, it creates duplicates and duplicates and duplicates. And that becomes a huge headache down the road. So what we're actually going to do is do something called find lead. So you can just type it in, find lead, and we'll click continue. What happens when you do find lead is it's going to bring you two things. The first is, how do you want to search for that lead? So this isn't how do we want to fill in information on that lead. This is simply asking, how do we want to search to see if this lead already exists in Close? Typically, my recommendation is going to be email and phone number. Those are the most unique identifiers. People can have the same name, but they typically can't have the same email or phone number. So you're just going to click this plus button, and you're going to look for where that email or phone number is filled out on that form. So in this instance, this is our question, thanks and what's your email? That's what I want to pull in, and that's how we'll search for the email. You can see my test data here is showing liz@close.com, which is an email, so that just confirms it for me. And then we have create close lead if it doesn't exist yet, and we're going to click yes. What happens now is it's going to give us a huge list of drop downs. This is how we want to fill out this lead if it doesn't exist and we want to create it. So basically what we're saying now is, what do we want this lead to look like? I come in my instance, I don't have a company name because I'm working with individuals, and we pick status. I want all of these leads to come in as the status reaching out. And I want the contact name definitely to come in. So we're going to click this and look for name. So this can always be a little tricky to kind of look for the right names. It's helpful to use this search bar. So then you're going to go through and you're going to find all the fields like contact name, phone number, email that you want to map in here. And to map these fields in is super simple. You're going to come and click the plus button, and you're going to look through the form to find the right information, right? So you're going to look through what question do we ask and what's the information. That's why it's important to do a test, because it's going to show you the test data, because this data can be tough to look through sometimes. But if I come in here and say email, I can populate that, and now this is going to fill out that email information. You're going to go through these kind of one by one. You don't need to fill every one of them out, but it's important to fill out the ones that matter to you. Email, definitely. Phone number, definitely. And then as we scroll down, you have the choice to fill out address information. Not super important to do that. I typically don't recommend filling out task or opportunity information right away. But then you're going to get to a place where it's showing custom fields. And lead source is one that you definitely do want to fill out, because this is going to show where this lead is coming from, which is going to help you track over time which leads are performing where. It's also going to help you kick off the correct workflow in Close. So I typically would say, okay, this one is coming from this. And if I start a new way to get warm leads, I'll go into Close and I'll add another drop-down item here so that I can recognize that, and then change that for the Zap setup. Setter closer, reason for joining is something, if I'm pulling that from my form, I want to go find that kind of response and pull it in. Any other thing that you're pulling in that qualifies, disqualifies leads, that's super important to pull into Close. You typically want to pull it in here to a custom field off of the form. Once all of this is done, you'll click continue and you'll click test step. The test will let you know into any errors. If it has not, it'll send this lead to Close, and you can go into Close and check out if the lead looks right, if everything's coming into the right place. So this says lead was sent to Close about 0 seconds ago. I come into leads and we'll see liz@close.com. So if you need to make some edits, you can. Otherwise, if this looks good, you can click publish and your Zap is good to go. I hope this helps. And as always, don't hesitate to reach out to us or our team to get some things sorted out.